I didn't even get to all, oh my God, I didn't even scroll far enough. There's still more. Oh my God. I thought I was done scrolling. Hi everyone. So I'm not a part of BookTok at all. I make other videos on my other channel, but I care so deeply about this BookTok drama that's happening that I have annoyed my wife from talking about it so much. She doesn't know anything about it. I've been trying to explain it to her. She doesn't care, but I care, and I guarantee you will care too. It is so interesting. I have to talk about it. Now, the problem is there are already a million videos about this online. I'll link to a few of them below if you have like 6 to 7 hours to spare if you want all the juicy details, but I just want to talk you through a little bit of this from my perspective. This revolves around an author named Audra Winter, who is responsible for this world that she's been crafting ever since she was 12.
My name is Audra Winter. I am the creator of the world of Guardian, which is a Zodiac-based fantasy world that I have been working on for 10 years now. My name is Audra Winter. I am the creator of the world of Guardian. My name is Audra Winter. I am the creator. My name is Audra Winter. My name is Audra Winter. My name is Audra Winter. I am the author of this book. It was released about a month ago, and I have lived through the worst week of my life because of it.
So it's a decade of world crafting, character building, things like that, and presumably, as she would say, writing this first book, which is going to be called, or is called, The Age of Scorpius. Let's just read the website. We're going to be here for a little bit. So in their own words, the book is about this. 18-year-old Reika Spring has been determined all her life to piece together Guardian's fragmented historical record and reverse her signs, a motionless code of honor. When she finally locates an ancient archive containing classified knowledge of Guardian's history, Reika discovers a scroll that reveals the essence of a mythological weapon and uncovers the truth behind the Scorpio code. It's nothing more than a manipulation tactic to keep Scorpio in power. Violating the code's holy orders is punishable by death, and Reika has broken the first tenet: never show emotion unless she wants to be murdered for displaying her anger against the law's will. She must find and prove that a mythological weapon is more than a story before she's killed by the hauntingly familiar assassin sent to stop her. Ooh, cool stuff. I read nonfiction, so I don't want to come across as like smug or like this sort of story is for children or whatever. It's young adult fantasy. It's, whatever you want to do with it. It's not for me, but it's for a lot of people, and that's great. The problem isn't in necessarily the story itself, although people have had critiques of that. The problem with this book, and you'll forgive me for looking at some notes here, it's so much to go through. So Audra was promoting it on TikTok, trying to sell the aesthetics of it, trying to sell the world of Guardian to her followers. I think she got like hundreds of thousands of followers on TikTok, eventually would sell pre-orders of the book that wasn't finished yet. And that sold somewhere between like 6,500, 7,000 pre-orders of the book on TikTok. And again, the book wasn't finished. People were buying the sort of fantasy of it, this idea of like the aesthetics of it, the world building of it. People just thought it was so interesting. Audra was selling it very well to people. She's an indie author, debut book, but more than that, she was positioning herself as this sort of revolutionary force in the indie publishing world.
I get so many questions on my page every single day of how in the world did I do this? This is unheard of, and surely I am making things that one day I would wake up to 500 orders and the next it would be 1,000, and I was with an attorney going, what the hell do I do about this? So all of a sudden, here I am establishing an entire company, a digital studio, bringing on my artists as independent contractors and employees, as suddenly I have a lot of money, and I'm like, oh god. So to sum it up, it took a lot of investment. I invested in it like it was a business, and I just went with it. The more success that I had, I was like, okay, we're going to try to maximize this in the most creative and best way possible, and say screw it, if it fails, it fails. I am so excited to keep building this with you guys, with my team. Being able to give myself a creative avenue in my team is just, it's been amazing, and yeah, welcome to the world of Guardian.
I can't even go through all of these. I haven't screenshotted them, but again, there are so many videos I'll link below of people going over this in detail. She would say things like, because I've been writing this book since I was 12 and I'm 22, I have surpassed the 10,000 hours necessary to be called a master of my craft. I'm revolutionizing this whole genre of writing.
I also very much encourage you to look up Malcolm Gladwell's The Outliers. It is a phenomenal book. Malcolm Gladwell has a theory
that basically he came up with over numerous years that says it takes 10,000 hours to reach a basic level of mastery. And God knows I have done that. I have reached my 10,000 hours because ever since I was 12 years old, I have spent 3 hours or more every single day without failure this whole time, the whole 10 years in Guardian. Like, I've been developing Guardian for over 3 hours every single day for 10 years of my life.
And the fact that she sold so many pre-orders based off of effectively nothing really just pumped her up even more, thinking that she was the best there's ever been, and she hasn't even published anything yet. So that already was rubbing people the wrong way. But then the book came out. It wasn't very good. It was really bad. And not even on a story level. Like, story level for sure, a lot of people have issues with it. There's a great review by Reads with Rachel I'll link below. Again, I have so many videos. Go watch them. They're all great. I've been so obsessed with this story. So the story is lackluster. That's bad enough. But the real issue that people have is that just on a line level, the book feels like a first draft, or worse than a first draft. There are sentences that are repeated, like in one paragraph and then over here in another paragraph shortly after. Feels very redundant. Some of the punctuation and grammar is wrong. The word choice, she's using words that don't mean what she thinks it means. Tons of errors, tons of misusing words. It was just so awkward and difficult for people to, like, it was hard to review the book because it was hard to get through it. You couldn't read. It was so hard to read. Meanwhile, again, Audra has been saying she's been writing this world for 10 years. She has written and rewritten this book so many times, but she's not really editing the book. She's just, whenever she needs to do a second draft, she's just rewriting it from scratch rather than editing and revising what she's already written, which people have said is not a great practice because you don't really remember what you did write and didn't write. There are story, plot points that you drop and forget to pick up later because you're not revising what you've written. You're starting again from scratch to see if you can do it better this time. Not great. But on that note of editing, this has been a huge point of contention. So very early on, before the book sold, Audra was saying a very specific phrase, which I believe was she had worked with the developmental editor who published The Hunger Games. Now, I didn't know this because I'm not in the publishing world or the writing world, really. But a developmental editor is, someone who really focuses on the big picture of the book rather than the, line to line, is this grammar okay? Is the word choice okay? This is someone who, they try to help with the coherence of like the character development and themes, pacing, overall narrative. So Audra is saying that she worked with the developmental editor who published The Hunger Games, made people understandably think that her book, Age of Scorpius, was developmentally edited by the same person who also developmentally edited The Hunger Games. Not true, it turns out. I just don't know why I'm so interested in this story. It's like rejuvenating me from my slump this year. It's so fascinating. The actual case is that Audra Winter worked with a developmental editor who was the marketing editor, or someone who worked in the marketing for Hunger Games, which is a different job. We're talking about two different people here, right? The developmental editor for the Hunger Games had nothing to do with Age of Scorpius or World of Guardian or anything like that. Rather, someone who did some of the marketing for some portion of Hunger Games worked, I guess, as a developmental editor for Age of Scorpius. But I also want to stress that editor didn't tell Audra that the book was good. She said that the book was hard to follow and not ready for the world. And Audra said, cool, I'm not going to quote you on that, but I will sort of twist this whole narrative around to make it seem like I got a stamp of approval from someone else who isn't you. It's so wild. Anyway, would you believe me if I told you that the book was just absolutely review bombed? Not review bombed in like a malicious way, but just it was bad and people started reviewing it badly. That is an extremely brief summary that brings us up to not even today, but just like a couple weeks ago as we look into some TikToks from Audra Winter that I want to show you real quick, because I've left out one important detail that is really the reason why I'm making this video, because I feel like I have a perspective on it, but let's watch some TikToks, shall we? So this TikTok comes, I believe, right after The reviews came out and the book was seen, rightfully so, as not very good. So this is Audra's response.
My name is Audra Winter. I am the author of this book. It was released about a month ago, and I have lived through the worst week of my life because of it in the past week. And I just wanted to come on here and talk about it and be genuine and express the things that I have been through in the past week, because I am literally living through my worst nightmare and my biggest heartbreak. If you're not familiar, I have spent a very long time working on this world that I started building when I was 12, and I'm 20.
I just want to pause sort of immediately. This is a theme that we're going to see with Audra moving forward and really throughout, is this reliance on this idea that I've been working on this for so long that it must be good. And I don't want to show my hand too early, but this is sort of a weird capitalist brain way of thinking, you know? It's the reason why people hate things like the banana taped to a wall being art, because it's like, well, where's the work that went into that to make it art? Why haven't you been working on that banana taped to a wall since you were 12? You have to put 10,000 hours in.
God knows I have done that.
Let's continue.
Throughout that time, it is the only thing that has stayed consistent in my life. It is the only thing that I have been able to lean on every single night and say, hey, at the end of the day, I have this and I have these stories. And it means a lot to me. This is not just a hobby. It is quite literally my entire life now.
That line right there, it is quite literally my entire life, is I think the problem. Look, I've been making YouTube videos for over 10 years. I've been making YouTube videos longer than World of Guardian and Age of Scorpius has been alive. So that makes me a real artist.
God knows I have done that.
No, but for me, this isn't my life. This is my job. This is a fun thing I get to do. It is also a thing that pays the bills, so I have to do it. But it's not my life. You have to have a life outside of your job. And I understand that I'm privileged. I make goofy videos for a living. But even I, especially this year, got stressed and got anxious about every single thing I'm putting out there in the world. I forced myself to sit down and make these like reaction commentary style things, because otherwise I'm going to think too hard about every sentence I say, every line that I write, every piece of information that I research, and then I get nothing done. How many video essays have I made this year? Maybe one? I don't know. Maybe one or two, when I used to make dozens. And so I've just been paralyzed this year, and I feel like a part of that is because of this. We can't just have this be our life, because then when things are bad, when things are received poorly, then we feel like we as a person are being perceived poorly. If people don't like our work, it feels like people don't like us. But you're not... Your value as a person is not determined by your work or how people perceive your work to be. Your value as a person is you're a person. You know what I mean? Be a good person. Be a nice person. Be someone people like. It doesn't matter if your work is bad. I've made videos in the past I hate. This might be one of them. But my value is not determined by how many views this video gets, or if people hate it because I'm not bringing anything new to this topic that's been discussed for ages. I just don't think my fans have heard about this story, so I just wanted to tell you all about it. Let's continue.
Right now I'm sitting in my room. That is my bed next to me where I sleep, and right outside of there is my office. This is my desk that I write at. I have no escape from this, and I don't need.
No, you do, but you actually do need, you actually do need an escape from it. I'm sorry. You do, though. We all do. That's not a fault. It's not bad to say, I want to take a break from this thing that I like. I used to make videos exclusively about comic books and superheroes, and then I got burned out from it, and I started making videos about Scooby-Doo, of all things, something that I thought I was the only one who cared about. Turns out, far from it. People care about it way more than I do, and I love it. And it was so refreshing to take a step away from this thing that I defined my whole life around for literally 10 years. Just like you. Literally 10 years. Also, I'm saying you like I'm addressing Audra. If Audra's watching, don't stop watching videos that criticize you. It's not healthy. But my point is, I have made videos about a specific topic for 10 years and I was so passionate about it. And then I needed a break and it rejuvenated a lot of the stuff that I find really awesome about this job that I get to do. When did this video turn into like a very sincere, genuine thing? Also, this TikTok is like 15 minutes long. We can't react to all of this. Another thing I forgot to touch on as well, about the writing. Audra gets really defensive in a lot of places. One of the things is her main character is neurodivergent. Same, but because it's written from first person perspective, there are a lot of run-on sentences. Again, these repeated sentences that happen in one paragraph and then repeat in another paragraph, words that don't make sense, things like that. And Audra would defend that by saying, well, my protagonist, the center point of the story, the narrator of the story, is neurodivergent, so not every sentence has to make sense. Are you a perfect storyteller in your head? Don't you ever repeat words in sentences? It's like, yeah, I guess. I don't know. I think that's a pretty weak defense, personally. And a lot of people do. It feels like she's just trying to defend bad writing by saying, no, I'm not a bad writer. My character is just a bad speaker internally. But then the other issue then is that other characters outside of the main protagonist also have those faults when they speak. So no, it's not just the main character, it's every character. Anyway, we're finally at the point that I want to bring you to. This is the thing that forced me to make this video because I was just like shouting at my screen when I saw this. Hit it. So good. Yes, Audra.
I believe I've been improperly introduced to you. I'm a 22-year-old entrepreneur, writer, and naturalist. Some of my favorite things are wolves, ecology, my dog, the ocean, and, of course, writing.
You probably know me from that last one. In the past month or so, I have become known for what is literally my worst nightmare. So obviously we took some time to calm down and talk with the studio and make some plans, hire.
Just gonna stop right there. Couple things I noticed. Number one, she always introduces herself as an entrepreneur first. And you might be thinking, why? Because I didn't cover it yet. But then you may have noticed that she said, we talked with the studio. Now that's interesting. This is the thing that I sort of teased earlier that I was going to bring out later. With the money from the pre-orders that she got, she set up some sort of creative studio for World of Guardian. She thinks that it's going to be this big cultural thing, like the Hunger Games or what have you, like a Harry Potter. I don't know. She thinks it's going to be the next big thing. World of Guardian. I got the pre-orders. I got the money from that. The book isn't even done yet, but I am going to set up an entire creative studio. What do I mean by an entire creative studio? What do I mean by that? Great question. Let me just go back again to the World of Guardian website. See this little tab right here that says Meet the Team? Now, how many, just take a wild guess. For an indie author, how many team members do you think there are? Better question, second question, what do you think their jobs are? How many? What do they do? I don't care what you wrote, you're wrong. Because, first of all, obviously, Audra Winter. And then we have all of these people. We have an editor, thank God. But this is, I will say, new person, this editor. That came out later. How about everyone else? An art director and illustrator. Okay, sure, book covers. Maybe some art here and there to help sell the book. Absolutely. I mean, this website is nicely designed. Concept artist, another illustrator. Okay. Project manager and illustrator. Formatter and illustrator. Character artist, designer, character artist, designer, animator and illustrator, and another character artist. I want to remind you, this is a novel. This is a book with words. Why do you have so many illustrators and character artists and an animator on your team. Why is it a team? I didn't even get to all, oh my God, I didn't even scroll far enough. There's still more. Oh my God. There's a landscape artist, a concept artist, another landscape artist, another fucking illustrator, and another character artist. I thought I was done scrolling. Why are there I was wrong. I thought there weren't that many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And with Audra being number 15, that is 15 people working for the world of Guardian with a single fucking editor, one who's brand new to this team, and everyone else is some sort of artist, illustrator, character designer. It is absolutely baffling that you would need this many people for a book with words. You have one editor for the words. You have 400 artists. I can't get over that.
So obviously we took some time to calm down and talk with the studio and make some plans, hire an editor. So again,
I want to clarify that now, after the book was sold, now I'm hiring an editor. Editor's new. I can't stress that enough.
Let me tell you exactly what my goal is, what my intentions are, and who I am. I'm a full-time author and founder of a creative studio with artists from across the world all working to develop a literature-based multimedia series centered around the Zodiac-based fantasy world that I began developing when I was 12. I want my novels to be a blend of narrative prose and artistic storytelling. My chapters are written out like a normal fiction book, but there are also critical parts of the story that are told by illustration. My aim is to uphold artistic kinship, collaboration, imagination, and innovation.
First of all, and I hate to keep piling on, but just like, I don't know, the way that she delivers all of these, like very inspirational, very much like I'm creating something new, something profound. I'm the head of a studio with artists from around the world. I'm going to create this. This is a new frontier for indie writers and artists. It's just very cringe, but also this focus on art, having so many artists saying that there are going to be key moments in your book that are only delivered via art, not prose. And like this idea of, artistic kinship, whatever that means to you. I saw this TikTok, and after knowing everything else that has gone on so far, especially with the studio, all of the different artists, the fact that her writing just isn't very good, I was listening to this TikTok and I screamed out loud to myself, just make a comic book. What are you doing? Seriously, you have so many artists. You're clearly so interested in the aesthetics of this world. You're not particularly great at, writing line by line, especially descriptors of things. That was another critique of her writing I saw, was that the way that she describes things is so adjective heavy and so full of like purple prose, which, good news, is something that you can easily avoid if you just make a comic book, because you don't have to describe the world that the characters see. You just have one of your dozen artists draw it for you. I'm kicked my desk. I'm so excited. Just make a comic book, make a graphic novel. Now I say just do it as if it's the easiest thing in the world. It's obviously still more work. You need to work with the right artists. Some artists are really great at just drawing characters or drawing individual scenes, but they might not know the way that a comic book should flow from panel to panel and things like that. And there's a lot of other artists that you need to work with that you're maybe not used to work with, like letterers, for example. I get it. It's still a shift in what you're doing, but it's really not that big of a shift. You have so many artists and you're determined for this to be some sort of multimedia series as well. Like that's what you want. You want it to be a multimedia franchise in the world of Guardian. You're so focused on aesthetics. You're so focused on the characters and the world and how things look. And that's fine. Just make a comic book, make a graphic novel. But here's the thing. We both know she's not gonna, right? This whole time, I've showed you several TikToks, and maybe it wasn't enough to paint the full picture of Audra Winter, but as someone who's seen hours and hours of Audra Winter content at this point, I can tell you the way that she talks about being an author, it's like the most prestigious thing in the world to her. And I get it. There is this air about it. You know, it's nice to be able to put published author in like your bio on Instagram or what have you. Yeah, it feels accomplished in a very old school kind of a way that's still relevant today, especially if you can put that you're a best-selling novelist, right? Comic books, on the other hand, and you know me, I love comic books. I read comic books all the time. That used to be my thing. But comic books still, unfortunately, have this vibe about them, this air about them, that they're less important than writing the next great American novel or whatever. And that's a shame. And I think if you really believe in this world, I'm saying you again, like I'm addressing Audra, but you know, this goes to anyone. If you really believe in the world that you're creating, in the characters that you're creating, in the story that you're crafting, then maybe it's worth examining if a novel is the right way to go. You clearly love working with all these artists. You love seeing your work come to life in front of your eyes, in front of readers' eyes, potential readers' eyes, rather. You love being able to market it based off of imagery. You know what's a great thing you can market based off of imagery more than most things? It would be a comic book, or again, you know, just a graphic novel if you still want to have that sort of air of pretense about yourself. Yes, I wrote a graphic novel. You could still call yourself a novelist at that point. If you wanted to, you could still call yourself a published author even. It's the same thing. Writing a comic book is writing. It's all writing. It's not less than, it's just different. I don't know, that's sort of my big takeaway, I guess. I cannot believe it got this far. And it seems like she never even once thought about just doing a comic book. She had it in her head since she was 12 that she was going to write the next great novel and stuck with that forever, but then did nothing to facilitate its success. You hired so many different artists and you talked to an editor who said, this book isn't ready, and then you published it anyway, and then only after publishing it did you hire an editor. I cannot get enough of this story. I cannot wait to see what happens next. Hopefully only good stuff, though. I want to see a comeback. I think we all want to see a comeback story. I think the issue we're all having is just how smug and pretentious Audra seems to be as this sort of like, I can fix this again. This is my third time and I'm going to fix it right this time. And then proceeds to make the most baffling business decisions ever. God, I didn't even talk about the fact that Audra was like in denial over all the poor reviews of her book at the start. Like just basically saying that people loved her book and only had glowing reviews until one other person gave it a negative review. And then now everything that's bad that's happened is because of that one TikToker who made one bad review, and then everyone started dogpiling on Audra's book. So it's not actually because her book is bad. It's because peer pressure, I guess. I don't know. I should wrap up this video, but the last thing that I will say is this. If you are my wife, Emily, oh, I got you, baby. I told you I would make you care about this. You watched 20, 30 minutes of me talking about this again? I told you it's interesting.